Okay, variations in humans. Relation of variation to human inheritance. Recall chapter 11 on inheritance about human trait. Okay, it is controlled by a pair of alleles in which an allele can be dominant or recessive. Dominant trait is observed when both dominant alleles are present or when one dominant allele is paired with a recessive allele. But for recessive trait to be manifested, it is only when both recessive alleles are present. This genetic information causes variation in humans. Let's look at this table and this picture, which shows example of characteristics and traits in humans. So here on the left side, these are the characteristics, for example, height, type of hair, tendency to use hand, presence of dimples, ability to roll tongue, as well as types of ear loops. Okay, here on the right side shows the traits in humans, dominant and recessive trait. Okay, for height, tall trait is actually a dominant trait. And for hair, curly hair is dominant traits. Right-handed, dominant traits. Presence of dimples, if it is present, it is dominant trait actually. Can roll tongue is another example of dominant traits in human. And if it is free ear loop like this, it is another example of dominant trait. Okay, this is an experiment to study the continuous and discontinuous variation in humans. So the problem statement is the height, body weight, and fingerprint of each pupil different? Okay, so the three characteristics here that will be studied are height, body weight, and also fingerprint. Okay, so let's look at the discussion. What are the shapes of graphs plotted for height and also body weight? Okay, so the answer is they are the bell curve shape with a normal distribution. Okay, remember the two extreme. Okay, the second question is give inferences for distribution of height, body weight, and thumbprint pattern of the pupils in your class. Okay, so from the study and also from the graph, we know that both height and body weight of pupils are continuous variations, in which there are differences among pupils in each variation, but that the differences are not obvious. Okay, tidak ketara, they are not distinct. But for fingerprint pattern, it is an example of discontinuous variation, in which differences among the pupils are clear and distinct. Okay, they are also qualitative. So for example, over here, the thumbprint pattern, whether the pupil has loop or arch or hole thumbprint pattern. So the conclusion is that the hypothesis is accepted. Okay, the hypothesis of stating that the height, okay, the body weight, and also the fingerprint pattern of pupils are different. Okay, next activity 12.3 is to study the level of human tongue sensitivity towards PTC solution. So PTC stands for phenyl thiocarbamide, which is a non-toxic chemical if it is tasted in small amount. Okay, so the hypothesis is PTC taste trait can be classified into specific groups. Okay, we can refer to the table here to show the taste trait, whether it is bitter, salty, sour, sweet, or it is of no taste. The procedure is you have to rinse your mouth with clean water before starting the activity, and you are to place a piece of this PTC paper on your tongue for a few seconds, You have to record the tongue sensitivity based on the taste of the PTC paper in the results table. And you are to remove the PTC paper from your tongue. Repeat the above steps with other pupils. And from here, you are to build a bar chart based on the results you obtain. Okay, look at the discussion, the questions. Okay, the first one, what is the type of variation for PTC taste based on the shape of the graph that is plotted? So, it is a discontinuous variation in which there are groups of people who can taste PTC, and there are also groups which cannot taste PTC. So it is a qualitative measurement. Okay, number 2, is PTC taste trait dominant or recessive? The answer is it is a dominant trait. An individual who can taste PTC has either a homozygous dominant or heterozygous, one capital T and a small t genotype, whereas individual who cannot taste PTC has both recessive allele or the homozygous recessive genotype. So conclusion, hypothesis is accepted that the trait for the PTC taste can be classified into specific groups.